welcome back to our special coverage of the State of the Union and the Democratic response. I'm Ari Melber with you live for the next hour, along with several of our top analysts, to break down this big night in politics. It is, of course, 1 a.m. on the East Coast, 10 p.m. on the West Coast. Reaction obviously pouring into Donald Trump's address tonight as the president tried to pivot from a low point of his presidency, caving on the shutdown, to casting these broader themes in a ceremonial address tonight. Donald Trump addressing a Democratic House for the first time, stacked with new members eager to hold him accountable. The president lashing out and suggesting investigations of his administration would risk any economic boom.
An economic miracle is taking place in the United States, and the only thing that can stop it are foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations. If there is going to be peace and legislation, there cannot be war and investigation. It just doesn't work that way.
But the schedule in the House this week alone is working that way, with a lot of investigations. Tomorrow, the House Intelligence Committee is ready to cast a key vote sending transcripts to Mueller's prosecutors. 2 former Trump aides have already been indicted for lying to Congress. On Thursday, a key committee is considering demanding Trump's tax returns, another probing the Trump family separation policy. And then big fireworks on Friday, a public hearing on Mueller's current boss, Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker, and Democrats will privately gill Trump's indicted former lawyer, Michael Cohen. Joining me now, the New York Times Mara Gay, Professor Jason Johnson from The Root, and reporter Carol Lee. All three are part of our team here at MSNBC. Mara, this was a speech that at times had a fantasy football element. It was the way Trump would want it to be, not always the way it is.
Oh, I think that's right. Stacey Abrams said that quite eloquently after in her address, which is we don't actually need, to have that much from the president. We just need him to tell the truth. That did not happen tonight. I kept waiting for Joe Wilson to pop up, former representative from South Carolina, and yell, "You lie." It's like, where is he when you need him? But no, in all seriousness, it was a dark vision of the country. It was very Trumpian in that sense. I was particularly struck by, obviously, that portion that you just played for your viewers, in which the president essentially threatened an end to an economic growth of the country if he was not protected at all costs, no matter what he does or has done. And I was also struck by his use of everyday Americans and people who've been through some pretty extraordinarily difficult experiences, Holocaust survivors, people who've lost family members to violence, using them as pawns for his own political purposes, and talking about them in terms of patriotism when, I would say, in my opinion, the president and his administration have done nothing but debase our democratic values and the values that we hold dear as Americans. So I found that particularly offensive.
And yet, Carol, this was Donald Trump scripted. He's usually unscripted. And I think at a sheer political level, this is a big political night, he probably damaged himself less by being on prompter.
Yes, and look, we were told all day long that the president, from the White House, that the president was going to deliver an optimistic speech. He was going to talk about unity, and he did, and he would say, things like, we're now going to govern not as 2 parties, but as one nation, and this is a new era of cooperation, and whatever lip service he gave to that, which all presidents do in this particular moment, was totally undercut. And the only thing people are going to remember from this is that he stood in Congress, which is an independent body of the government, and said that they shouldn't do their job, which is oversight. And, he did this right after the midterms, where he said, dangled the legislation, cooperation on legislation, as something that might not happen if Congress continued with, pressed forward with a bunch of investigations. And here we saw him say it again. And he made that threat at a time when those investigations, as you pointed out, are about to heat up. And so everything else he said is completely overshadowed by that.
Yeah, and that's the backdrop. I mean, I want to put up Washington Post reporter Aaron Blake walk through some of this, Jason. And this is what's happening now, with or without a big speech. You have the investigation of Trump on obstruction, on campaign finance, of course on collusion or conspiracy. Now Trump inaugural, investigated out of New York. The Trump Organization out of New York, the Trump Foundation, which is under orders actually to shutter, and then the discontinued Trump University. And to paraphrase someone who's been in the news, Jason, 21 Savage, how many problems you got? A lot. How many lawyers you got? A lot. How many people left you out to rot? A lot.
Quite a lot. You know, this is the funny thing about where he is right now. This is the, all right, you got me. You got me. Because every president gives this. This was George Bush in 2007 after he took a hit in 2006. This is Obama in 2011. Once you get smacked down in the midterms, you suddenly sound all conciliatory. But Trump isn't just being conciliatory because his party got shellacked in the midterms. It's also because he's like, would y'all please not investigate me? Would you please just look these? I promise I'll be good. I promise I'll pass this legislation if you don't start looking into my pockets. And he can't do that. He can't make Nancy Pelosi forget how he disrespected the Democratic Party and the democratic process for the last 2 years. He can't convince Democrats who are thinking of their own reelection chances that they've got to make sure they go after him because that's what their constituents want. And he can't convince Republicans that he can tame the Democratic Party. And you notice he spent most of the speech not even looking at the Democrats anyway. He literally focused the entire time on the Republican side, except when he had that self-own with the women of the Democratic Party.
Hey, we're going to get to that because we actually have a fact-check component later in the hour. You guys stay with me. When you look at the two visions of America tonight, I want to bring in some other guests because you have President Trump on the one side, you have Democrat Stacey Abrams, and they couldn't have been more different. How